The way that we as business owners can win in that space isn't by being the generic. It's that we actually want to target, like I said, those zero volume keywords, the like hyper specific things.
Welcome to part 2 of Nina Clapperton's episode. In this episode, we're shifting away from how she uses private podcasts and instead get a little coaching teaching session from her about what she's seeing in SEO and AEO, GEO, whatever you've heard on the interwebs. And I just felt like, you know what? We have this expert here. Why not get some advice from her and allow this to be a teaching moment? So tune in for the rest of this episode where we talk all things SEO. If you had like advice for people, you've leaned toward the advice for people with getting it out there, just do it and stuff. Maybe drop some of your like SEO advice. Let's go with that. Because I've gotten a lot of awesome motivational like stuff. Love it. Like, yeah, teach us some stuff. What you got?
For sure. I'm a big fan of, I call it an SEO sales funnel, where I don't think you need to be a blogger who's posting 400 posts a year or anything to make money. I don't think that is a sustainable thing for anybody, even with AI. And like, you're going to lose your voice, you're going to lose everything. So instead, what I talk about is that like, you need to essentially hit all aspects of like the audience buyer journey on your topic. And I don't actually care if you're selling like an affiliate, your own thing, your email list, whatever, but you need to be moving people through a topic. And so it started with travel for me, where I got really tired of like, I'd get one amazing post where I was like, oh, this is so good and so helpful. I want to read more about like your trip and how you did it. And it was their only post on it. And so I call that SEO blue balls, where I'm like, you've like hyped me up, you've teased me, and then you're just like, nah, no, now we're going to move on to like Guatemala. And I'm like, I was looking at Budapest. Like, come on. Like, no, I can't go to Guatemala right now. And so, yeah, my big thing is thinking about your audience. And with SEO, a lot of people focus way too much on gamifying it. So like you need to have this checklist of, you're going to do all of like, you're going to have this keyword this many times per word, and you're going to have like exactly this and exactly that. And I'm like, no, because you're a human. So my way of doing it is that you're going to first start with, what is the like kind of point A to point B we're taking someone on? I didn't even know that was a thing, to like, oh my God, take my money. Or, oh my God, like I want to follow you forever, whatever. Mark what those things are. Usually it's 20 posts. If it's kind of a subtopic, then it's 10. So like within SEO, maybe getting your first 100 page views is 10. Maybe it's blog setup versus writing the post, whatever. Write those down. Then we're going to do some matching of just trying to figure out how we translate ourselves for our audience. So we're using terms that they would search. I use key search for this because it's cost effective. Use whatever the hell you want, except maybe Uber suggest, because its data is horrible. So like, run away. And most of these things have like a free plan to get you started. So use the free plan, get it for a month. I don't care. But what we're trying to do is figure out, like, for example, with my old travel blog, I would call myself a slow mad, because I would like live in a place for a few months, then move on. But that's not a term anyone else uses. That was a term that Rosie Bell, a travel writer, coined, and it wasn't really a thing. So digital nomad and expat were the two terms people used. I wasn't working like online, so expat made more sense. So I used that term. That was it. That's all I had to say, was like, I'm going to be an expat site. I'm going to have a post on like, how do I move abroad? Not how do I go to this country for 3 months and not get kicked out? It's not what someone's searching. So we're just translating the topic a little bit, like just like that little term. Maybe it's like, rather than what activities are amazing in Toronto, it's things to do in Toronto. That little tweak, you're not changing the intent. And then you just write the content. You write content that actually answers the freaking question, please, for the love of God. And then you connect it to the next thing with internal links. And that's it. Like, SEO does not have to be crazy hard. It is about matching search intent. It is about proving that you know the subject. And a lot of that comes from topical authority with multiple posts. And then nowadays, rather than backlinks and things like that, it's about existing in more than one place. I recommend having your one main place and then one kind of bonus place that is public facing. Have your email list too. Please, for the love of God, have an email list. Have a community somewhere. Have paid stuff. Great. But you need two public facing things to be like, hey, I am a business. I am not just one of those SEO niche sites talking about blenders and they've never touched a blender and it's so clear. And you're like, okay, yeah, throw in like rock hard frozen strawberries with no lid on. That's not going to cause chaos. Like what? So we want to get rid of those. And one of the ways that search engines do that is that they look for like you existing in more than one spot. Don't spend a million years on it. Literally, like write your 20 posts, write one thread a week. That's it. And you can pre-schedule them. So that's 52 threads. And threads are like 2 sentences. So like you're fine. That's my main thing is like focus on that. Focus on like being known for this thing. So just stay on topic before you move on to the next thing. Now, for those of us with critical ADHD, pick 2 things and then move between the 2. And if they connect, even better. So for my travel blog, I did, and this was years ago, but it's still the way we do it today, is I did moving abroad and then I did like living in Canada. So I could talk about moving anywhere and then I could talk about moving to Canada and like what it took to exist here, essentially. I am Canadian, so it was more from a perspective of physically living here, not how to get visas and stuff. But I finished the thought, like that was the point. I connected them with internal linking and I said, hey, here's the stuff. Now, my last thing is, please let me find content on your website. If I go to one more website that is like a treasure map of, hey, maybe you'll find content, who knows? No, this is not an escape room. This is like, that's not the point. I want to go to your website. I want to see who you are,
I mean,
what
that's
you're
a
talking
vibe.
about. I mean, it
not
is.
an SEO vibe, but like that's a vibe.
I think it is if that's what they're expecting,
Yes.
and then optimize for escape room.
I'm like, there's got to be someone doing something
Yeah.
cool like that. But anyways, yes.
But yeah,
Make it
but
easy.
like I want to go to your menu and know that I can find content, and I should be able to find every post on your site within 3 to 4 clicks from your homepage. Typically, all that takes is like, hey, I talk about like SEO. I'm going to have the word SEO in my menu. You click on that. Here are the posts about SEO. That's it. So keep it simple. Think about your user. What do they want to know? What's going to help them? Look at what they're asking so you can go and like sneak a peek at what they're posting in people's Reddit comments, posting in like YouTube comments. Like you don't have to have people yet to do audience research. And then you're going to write the stuff helpfully with your perspective, saying something new. You're going to internal link to connect things. And then you're going to make sure they can find it because I don't want buried treasure. I want to see it. And then from there, you just expand. You just keep going. A big thing, though, for the kind of awareness of you on the web, if you don't have your own podcast, go on other podcasts.
Yeah.
Really easy to do. It's so easy to guess. There's millions of Facebook groups with like, hey, find a podcast. You don't need to pay someone $7,000 to get 5 podcasts. Go to a Facebook group. It's free.
Yep.
And another thing is like collab with someone else in your space instead of a podcast. If you're not like chill with podcasts, be like, hey, we both have this thing. I'm going to like tag them on socials. They'll tag me on socials. Done. Like you don't need to do what everyone else is doing. There's creative ways to do it. Podcasts are just kind of easy to do because you can just like show up and talk about a thing you love. Hopefully you love it. Otherwise it's harder to run a business about it. But I think SEO, again, it's audience first, algorithm second. So I want you to start with like, who are you talking to? What do they need? And then go from there. Another like little tip I have is just like, think of it as like you were at a party. You don't know anyone. You've overheard this person like kind of mentioning something that you're like, ooh, I'm gonna be a know-it-all and I'm gonna go talk to them. So then you like saddle up to them and it's like, hey, do you want some like cashews? And by the way, I heard you were mentioning that you're not sure where to go on summer vacation with your kids. Let's talk through it. And each one of your blog posts are just like the next part of that conversation. Like someone has interrupted you in between each thing and then you're just starting up again. And then if you're struggling to like get that vibe, I actually want you to role play and just record yourself talking to like make one of those weird like fake pillow men that apparently are a thing. Like I don't put a teddy bear on the couch. For me, I use my dog and I will literally just voice record myself having a fake conversation with this person. It's so easy. Like it does not need to be as hard as you think. It does not need to be 2,000 words. It does not need to have like 8 LSI keywords per this amount of words. It does not need to have a keyword density score. In fact, if you're optimizing for a keyword density score, you're going to fail because keyword density has not been a thing since I started SEO. Even with your URL, honestly, it doesn't matter as much anymore. Mm-hmm. It's really about that connection. Everything else is tangential, in my opinion. And from my experience and hundreds of students and clients' accounts that I still check regularly.
Love that. And what was it like where last year was all about SEO is dead? Because obviously not true. And like, I love that you already had that bridge with AI, because I think, possibly somebody in the SEO space or maybe even someone listening is like, I thought I was going to get into SEO. Well, that allows me to, not do that or whatever. I don't know if you have any thoughts on like the, whatever it is, AEO, GEO, until we decide who knows EO. What advice you have around that too? Just getting your thought leadership on that.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, honestly.
I figured. Sorry, tune in for part 2.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, it's funny because SEO has always been this like stable thing versus like Instagram and YouTube and everywhere else that was allowed to change their algorithm more frequently. And it's because like the search intent, it changed and Google was just like slow on the uptick. And honestly, I think that they were still figuring out how to change it. And then they reacted to ChatGPT search way too soon, because it's very much in that like AIEO farmers, whatever, old McDonald. That's what I always think of with it. I'm like, it's just SEO, search engine optimization.
Just keep it. It just everything's like, totally. It's shifted.
Exactly. Yeah. But like with all of that, like, I think that they rushed it. So I always say it's like, it's at that 13-year-old Nina stage of, I just learned what eyeliner is. I have a blue eyeliner pencil and I only do one really like, it's like ice blue line of eyeliner directly under my eye. And then my family lets me leave the house for some reason. It's in that stage of makeup. It's not in the stage of like, ooh, James Charles. I don't know literally any beauty influencer. I know he's been canceled, but it's like literally the only name I know, sadly, because I don't do makeup, but like that level of makeup. So it's figuring itself out. I think in a way that people don't forgive it to have adjustments because it was so structured and stable for so long.
Sure.
But SEO isn't dead. It has changed massively to the point where I actually think it's easier than it was before.
Better for,
Yeah. And like, you're not having, again, to do this math formula.
And you're not competing against people that do the math formula professionally. Like,
and
like farmhouses or whatever they were called, SEO farms.
Yes, exactly. Genuinely, like link farms and all of that. And like,
we're like, okay, good, bye.
Thank
you.
And it used to be, it started to be based on whoever said the thing most recently, not who said it first. And that was frustrating. People complained. It was, the like 20,000 words before you got a recipe. Like people complained. And then people complained when it stopped having that. And it was the same people who complained before. And I'm like, guys, we need to have some sense of things change. And with marketing, I think you have to expect that everything is always changing. So to me, the shift is, again, audience first. I've been very lucky that unlike other people, like I was not hit by the helpful content update. I did not have like absolutely devastating traffic changes. I do a Google trending topic. I have like a trending topic formula that I just like, it's not even a formula. I just do it. And then it became a framework of mine because people asked every quarter to get like a quick 30,000 page view hit. And then I drop it and I keep my stable stuff. And then I wrote 6 posts last year and I kept getting 30,000 page views every single month. And 3 of those posts were just newsletters.
Yeah, because the story is if you don't keep posting, it dies.
No, and it's so wrong. And I also think that like with the shift, the nice thing is that it's not about quantity, it's about quality, both in terms of like the length of your blog post. So there was this thing called skyscraper content that I could go on about forever about how stupid it was. It was essentially a dick measuring contest where it was like, hey, who has the bigger dick? You're going to rank higher. So you want to have...
Is that meaning like, wait, hold on. Nora's nodding her head because she like knows SEO. Oh my gosh, she knows SEO. Look at that. Plugging.
Literally where my name came from was people saying that on social media.
Bleeped out unless I pay for it. I'm just kidding. Nora knows SEO. Maybe Nora.
There you go.
Knows.
Yeah.
Nora knows is a trademark internally for Hello Audio because Derek and I are always like, well, Nora knows. So anyways, Nora knows SEO. I could see you guys nodding. Was that the like, please write 30,000 words, ultimate guides to the everything of the anything? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's
so it was it was literal length of your, like the actual content, the word count, but also length of like in terms of number of things on a list. So like, hey, you're searching for the best hotel. You probably don't want to read 305 best hotels that exist in Toronto, because how are they all best? And especially because half of them you're saying are 1 star. Like, so, but it was literally about the quantity there. Yeah. Whereas now what I say is like, it's actually about a modern skyscraper. So I don't know about you, but if I'm picking like what building to move into, I actually don't care how many floors it has. I currently live in a building with 10 floors, and I think that's great. I'm midway up it, but it has like a great gym. The concierge is super nice. It's got a like dog friendly little park in the back. That mattered to me more than like, okay, across the street, maybe it's the same amount of money. It's a 35-story whatever with no amenities. The amenities matter now. It's not about the size of the building. It's literally about, is the building actually nice and like somewhere you would want to be? Same for posts. And I also think another cool thing is it prioritizes unique content. So you need to say something new, and that's usually just your experience of like, hey, here's how I did the thing. Here's how this thing mattered to me. And I think businesses, oddly, are better at that than content creators. Because with businesses, you're trying to hype your business all the time. So you're like, I did this for my client, and like my client had this win and this happened and blah, blah, blah. With content creators, they're just like, here's a Wikipedia article about this thing. And I'm like, no, what did you do? Like, what did you enjoy? And I don't need 20,000 words about your kid's meltdown on a plane. What I need is like okay, like, the seats were too tight and my kid was like, nope, and I will never fly this airline again. Like, that is, we need condensed, but we do need that. So I think it's still figuring itself out. Unfortunately, with the AI slop kind of thing, which I don't love that term, but I do think for some of like the AI at scale articles, it is fully that. The new stuff and the like new content is just incorrect content. And the amount of people I see where start to notice how many people, it's like Reddit, and then the blog post beneath it is literally that Reddit thread that someone has like spun with AI, and I hate it. And also, by the way, guys, you can citizens arrest people on Google. I don't think people realize that. There's a little 3 dots beside a result that you can actually like say,
like, I don't like it, like Reddit. You can like upvote, downvote. What?
Yeah, genuinely.
You know that?
And people don't realize it. You can't abuse it to like it's attached to your account. So if you're constantly doing it to like your competitors, Google's going to be like, hey, shut up. But if it's like, hey.
But as a person who's like as we're trying to help shape what this looks like.
So anytime I see something that's crap, I'm like, hey, by the way, that's blatantly incorrect information. Or, hey, this Reddit thread, literally in the order of the comments, that's this post. He said nothing else. It's always a he. He said nothing else. It's always like a 35-year-old white man who's like scooping creatine dry into his mouth. And I'm like, no. And I actually, unfortunately, I have a friend that is that, and he does that. And he does it kind of funnily-ish, but I'm still like, maybe don't do that. I don't think it's good for you. But there are many of them that do it. And so I'm like, yeah, hey, like you can just say, give information on this. And the information can be that it's terrible. It doesn't always work to fully remove it, but it is something that seems to be taken into account.
Yeah,
and in the most recent
agency, I think a lot of people, like, oh my gosh, it's taking over. Maybe that like feels like you're doing your little contribution to
this one wrong,
prevention.
No, genuinely, and with AI search too. The cool thing is that it's becoming kind of a newsfeed. So it's becoming kind of personal, where, yes, that means it's a bit of an echo chamber. Google was always an echo chamber.
It's like, it's been,
based on the way that you phrase something. I could say like, okay, are blueberries toxic for my dogs? Or blueberries are toxic for dogs, right? The answer will probably be different because it's the way you're asking the question. If it's a leading question, it wants to appease you. And so with AI searches, they're doing a similar thing, but they're also learning like, I'm celiac. So if I ask for best restaurants, it's going to start to only give me celiac restaurants or like gluten-free restaurants. And I really appreciate that. Now, for other people, they're like, boo, it's not like just putting out the hundreds of restaurants, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but that sucked for me as a user.
Yeah.
So just, again, start to think of audience first, of like, what, as an audience member, would you like? When people are mad that an AI overview is there, number one, it's a billboard for your business. Again, like I said, like getting your name there. We're trying to like inception our way into our clients' minds, essentially. Where I'm like, hey, yeah, this purple-haired girl with like a golden retriever body slamming her in like half of her videos. She's everywhere. Oh my God. And like, that probably means something. But yeah, don't be afraid of it. And when it is something that can be answered in one sentence, I'll be honest, I'm happy. I'm like, hey, I actually didn't want to read a 20,000 word blog post to learn that my egg for a boiled egg should be cooked at. To this day, I don't know. I'm going to have to Google it again the next time I boil an egg because it is not something I can retain. So like, I think SEO is alive and well. I think it's also really cool how it's becoming more accessible with different formats of answers where not everyone wants a video, but not everyone wants text. Not everyone can read. My grandmother, before she passed, was blind. One of the reasons I got into accessibility stuff before I had any issues. I created a GPT called the She Knows Alt Text GPT. Little plug, 100% free. Go into like Chat GPT, it's there.
The link.
And it'll make alt text for you for any image, and it SEO optimizes it, and it actually describes the thing. It's not just like a keyword stuffed random thing. But with that, I was like, yeah, we just need images that people can see because, again, AI can't see it. So people were like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, some people aren't you. Some people have different abilities. For me, like I am currently in a chronic pain flare, which is one of the reasons I'm wearing a pink sweater so that you can't see how pink and inflamed I am. I'm just like, it's just the reflection of this neon sweater, I promise. But like we figure out hacks whenever you're a not well person. But I'm like, everyone has different preferences. And that's part of what's changing. So also, if you can show up in like 1 or 2 spots, it's great. And then the last thing I'll just say is a really easy way as well to like dominate search is I can have 5 spots of the top 10 because I have different formats of content. So like if there's something that you talk about and it doesn't, this is another thing. I got really big for talking about zero volume search because it's audience first keyword. So it's something your audience is asking about, and key search, SEMrush, Ahrefs are like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, it doesn't matter to you.
We're
you little algorithm
bot. What we do for sure.
And so when you create that content, it's something that connects with your people. And so same thing, if you can connect with them of, hey, oh my God, Nina answered this in a video, a podcast, on like a short form on Threads, a long blog post, and she was helping someone out on Reddit with it. Cause like, just answer Reddit questions when you're bored in line at like waiting at the pharmacy, or like what I answer Reddit stuff and Thread stuff on buses all the time. I hate buses. So if I'm on it, I'm answering stuff. Like, you're helpful then. Again, audience first. And if you help people, they like you. So it's that simple.
This has always been true. As Nora, we've like, let me also just restate, this has always been true. And I love it. Like, I love it because I think when people overcomplicate what they need to do to start a business or get seen on whatever, get visible, like insert whatever thing you expect yourself to have to do. It's like, you start there.
And also, I think I've said a lot of places that I show up, like, remember that I'm like full-time for Nina is like 10 hours a week, but I'm full-time in terms of like my ability to devote time to content and my creativity and my energy. I'm full-time, and it's been years of this where when I was starting, it was just SEO, and like, you are allowed to just start. You are also allowed to start and be bad at a thing, or like, when I started with Threads and YouTube and podcasts, it was just terrible. I'm like, that's fine. Okay, who cares? Because I will get better. And also, you're always going to have to update and edit and recreate things. If you look at podcasts and YouTube channels, you will notice that every year on year, half of their videos, they just re-record. Like, it's not actually new videos in theory. It's just slightly updated. And usually you just have to put the 2026 in it. That's why I like blog posts and SEO on a website, because you can just do the little edit and not rewrite it from scratch, which is kind of nice. So just remember that, like, look at your stage of business and your capability and fit the strategy that you're going to work on to your abilities. Don't pick a strategy and then go, oh, I need 80 hours a week and like 300 team members to do this. No, that's a terrible idea. You should do what you can do, and then adjust as you go. And it's about sustainability, I think, too, in terms of like an accessibility for you, whether you have kids, whether you're chronically ill, whether you work, whether you just like want to live your freaking life. Because like, honestly, we are not put on this earth to work. We're put here to live life. And I would love to say that with the 10 hours a week I'm working, it's because I'm like living this amazing cosmopolitan 30-year-old life in Toronto. No, I'm ill. So like, I'm at doctor's appointments. I'm like asleep on the couch and stuff. But I am grateful that I have a business where I can still take care of myself.
Yep.
And SEO has powered that because people can literally search and find me when they need me. I'm not cold DMing and bugging people. People come to me and I'm able to be like, cool, here are my options to help you. Here are my boundaries. Bye. Like, that's it. We're good.
Yep.
Love it.
I do too. So PS, like, let's totally make this a 2-part episode. Can we do a 2-part episode? We've never done one before.
It's so funny because you're the third person I've done an interview with in the last 2 months where it became a 2-parter. No, and they said we've never done a 2-parter before.
Well,
but I just talk so much.
Hey, that's in your pitch. Guess what? I could give you 2 podcast episodes out of one.
Price of one.
Genuinely, it's like Nina just doesn't shut up.
No,
so like you're gonna get all the content.
Okay, P.S. The host that's like, can you teach me something right now because I don't want you to leave? That was me, by the way. We could have ended it.
That's fair.
To be fair. So it's your magnetic energy. But no, like I also am just like, I really want to know what you think about like what's happening right now. I think your subject area and then your background. Like, you know, you could have been an SEO person who's been doing this for 15 years and is like super anti-AI and just like, you know, whatever. And so you just had that like, you know, bridge that I'm just like curious around. And like, Nora knows that I've been very like watching this like AI and like GEO thing. And, you know, it is positively helping Hello Audio that we get recommended. And I think, you know, because while we've been playing a little bit of the SEO game and that content has helped build our like site's authority, you know, I think something else too that I'm curious around, and, you know, again, this is me wanting coaching from you. So you can fill us after you want, slash thoughts and like perspective.
Yeah.
You mentioned it being other places. I like the multimodal thing that totally came through in like your case study as we're talking about case study, but as we now are talking about like SEO and like where it's headed. And I wonder if maybe part of this curiosity is that you're following the episode where the person kind of wanted to just do SEO and like Nora gave her advice, but I'm like, oh, cool. You know, if the show was about SEO, Nora would have 100% like gone deeper with her, but you know, it was not. And so I'm just going to be like pinging her after this. Like, you got to listen to the next episode. But anywho, like she's having her second kid and she wants to like, have business happen and go like around her life. And so I guess where I'm getting at is I'm like, you know, this conversation would help our audience, you know. I'm thinking about how private podcasting, like I'm hearing that the multimodal type of content, like, thank you, internet, for now transcribing YouTube videos because of AI. And now it's being cited, right? And whereas before it used to not, you had to make a blog, therefore. And like, I think with public podcasting, is this true or not? The podcast SEO game is also starting to change because Apple is officially transcribing everyone's episodes. Yay accessibility, yay whatever, saving podcasters work, all the things. And that's now starting to show up as well. So like we've been living in this world where like podcasting isn't, you know, it's not as discoverable, but like maybe it's starting to be in a place that people are looking. And so, yeah, I think what I'm getting at is like, I was thinking about what we've been doing and our potential like, you know, SEO strategy. Oh yeah, that was it. The multimodal piece. And definitely like in Reddit and YouTube and all the things. Like I'm always asking AI, like, where are you finding us? I like have this spot that tells us that, right? And yeah, a lot of it is our own content, but some of it's not. Some of it's like a random thread user mentions Hello Audio and then I can be like, oh, cool, right? Not how I found you, by the way. But thinking about the like brand mentions, and I think what's really carried us is like our integration we did with Descript. We were like an early Descript integration, and they wrote a blog post that we didn't ask them to write, but it was about private podcasting. And so this big company, right, like it has this established, is making this reference. But where we get into muddy territory is we also tend not to be in conversations about this is where you should start a podcast because we focus on private podcast. And so AI will be like, yeah, but like, you know, you're not mentioned on this listicle where they talked about the top 10 hosting softwares. And I'm like, you know why, right? Because you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Like, and also like, so I'm kind of curious. I don't know what I'm saying. Like part of it is like, what do you think we should do? But also part of it is like around these big brands and like these collaborations that you're talking about. Is that also a strategy? And like, what does that look like in the world that we're in right now?
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of different things I would say. So first of all, going back to the beginning of this where you're talking about like the discoverability of podcasts now and even YouTube videos, YouTube videos with transcripts still are different than a blog post. I still recommend connecting it to your site.
Cool.
And so
every one of your YouTube videos, just to be clear, that you release has a blog post that you've posted and you connect the video back. And it also is acting as if it's a public podcast on a podcast.
I would say 70%, not all of them, largely because I'm lazy. So I haven't finished it yet.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I would say most of them do.
Like that's what you're your top, like what you're trying to do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And also because I have this smaller strategy about how much I'm publishing and what I'm publishing. I think it looks like I'm everywhere now. But like I said, I did 6 blog posts last year.
Yeah.
I did more videos on YouTube because I was trying to like catch up on YouTube. But I operate kind of in these like sprints, I guess I would call it, where for like 3 months, I'll do one thing really intensely. Then I move on to the next and I move on to the next. I like to like theme my year. So this year is like software year. Last year was supposed to be software year. And then it became like, instead YouTube year. And I was like, let's just figure it out. So I'm doing different stuff. But I would say like, when I've done tests, you need like 20 blog posts, 10-ish YouTube videos. And you can do the same for your podcast. And then you can kind of coast on that. Like you don't have to be publishing that much of stuff every single year.
Yeah.
YouTube videos continue to rank typically for a number of years. Same for podcasts, same for SEO posts. And then if you're repurposing it to text instead, like there's so many things that can auto do that for you to some degree. 100%. You can do it yourself. And like, I mean, Threads posts for me, like I show up on a lot of social media by choice, not because I have to. So social media to me is optional because of my SEO stuff. And that's what I love about it. My priorities are my blog and my email channel. Those are my main things. So because of that, everything else has become kind of secondary. But with the podcasts and YouTube, like you do want to have a blog post and then you connect it to those where you're like, hey, by the way, prefer to watch this? Here's a video.
Yep.
Sometimes though, it's actually not like, maybe I have a blog post that's like, okay, the best keyword research tools. I don't need to have a video then necessarily that's the best keyword research tools. Maybe I have a key search review video or tutorial video. That's it. Like I don't have to have all of the things. But what I think about with YouTube as well, same with podcast, is I want to hit all of those steps so I'm not leaving someone high and dry. Even if some of them are not like the juicy algorithm, whatever, it's helpful. That's the main thing. So I would say that like, especially for that other person, if they don't prefer audio or if they don't prefer YouTube, you can also like repurpose audio to YouTube. Like if you prefer that method.
Go the other way.
You and like just have like something on the screen. I don't care what, like it doesn't matter. You can also do image if you prefer, and then do like Instagram instead with carousels. So like pick the modes that you like. Typically text plus something else does well. But genuinely Threads is doing well. So like you could just do Threads and it gets indexed faster than a blog. Cause I've done tests on what gets indexed first. So I'll publish like on a news topic and then you can watch. So like Mediavine, which is an ad network for bloggers, changed their requirements. And it's like a big deal because they've been 50,000 sessions for forever. Now it's $5,000, I think, a month of income or something. It became income based, which is weird and different.
Huh.
And so I got to watch, I created content for it everywhere. And then I watched the race of which type of content got indexed first. Threads was the very first one. Even before LinkedIn, which everyone's like, LinkedIn, blah. And I'm like, no, go away.
What about like X? Because like Threads is kind of like Twitter. Is that?
Twitter's not indexed anymore. Elon Musk blocked it. So perfect. You can't get indexed. So another reason to avoid it. Blue Sky, I'm not on Blue Sky. I know some people are, so it wasn't in my race, but maybe in the next one. I like racing things. It's fun. So because of that, I would say like pick the one other place. But remember again that like we are not using a strategy to become like an influencer essentially or a content creator. You're doing this to be a business owner. And even like the content creators are now operating like business owners. Alex Earle has like, she just got a Netflix series and she started a YouTube show for herself that are different elements of her audience. And the Netflix series is clearly a way of getting more mainstream people who aren't on like TikTok into her audience. The YouTube
is like Netflix like, being a channel for like this. When I started to see people that I've been following for 10 years getting like Netflix shows, I'm like, oh my gosh, what a weird collision.
It's wild.
It's wild. Yeah,
And
they're
like,
talking about hosting podcasts.
they are.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because it's becoming a discoverability channel because so many people just have Netflix, where it used to be a monetization channel.
Yep.
And so you have to like watch the way these things are switching. And so for podcasts and YouTube and Threads, and this is the thing with X, like X blocked like search from seeing it. You couldn't have controlled that. So if your entire business is built there, you're fucked. And that's my thing with like, you need to own your platform and you need to own at least one of your income sources because like, especially in the content creator world that I started in, like when I started, Airbnb shut down their affiliate program and the 99% of travel bloggers were making all of their money off of that single affiliate program. Amazon cut their affiliate percentages in half, like right before I started. And everyone was like, oh crap, like I was making so much money on Amazon. Now my thing is excluded and the other ones are 4% instead of 8% or whatever. And even then, you're getting 4% of like the full thing. So I'm like, hey, own your income source, and then it can't just vanish. Same with owning your website. So even if SEO is not your primary marketing channel, which is dumb, you should have at least it set up, like you should be driving people to it. And so then for you guys with like your structure, I would say that like, it depends on what your goal is, to be honest. Like, do you want to be known as a public podcast host? And if so, I would actually say like one of the main reasons that you're not showing up on those lists is that idea of monetization. And so you actually need to change the script a little bit of ways to monetize your podcast and talk about how ads are not the best way to monetize your podcast or how like manual sponsorships can be better. So I think if you start talking about it that way, and then maybe you're not on those lists, but you're in a discussion about monetizing a public podcast.
That's
I think
so interesting.
Yeah, like I would say that's a better way to do it because I think that this is the problem is that people, same with blogs, like people are very into the traditional model. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to be a blogging trad wife. Like I would actually like to not have that happen and be my life. I would not be good at it. And so I'm like, so ads on your website were the monetization channel. And that's why I was focused on growing my traffic. And then I was like, hey, I have 65,000 page views. Mediavine paid me $1,700. And I was like, what? Like, are you kidding me? That's nothing. And then even when I scaled to like, I think at my top, I was at 243,000 page views in a month for that one. And I was like, I'm still getting like under 10. I think it was at like 7,000. And I'm like, that's a good amount of money, but for the like for the volume that you have, what the actual fuck? And so like when I scaled to the 30,000, it was very much like affiliates, custom sponsorships, custom affiliates, which I think people skip out on, and building those relationships with my audience and like having that. Ads have always been like the lowest percentage of my income. And I think if you spoke to and I think this would be a really interesting thing is to do interviews with people who have monetized public podcasts and talk about their income streams. I would argue that the majority of them ads are one of the lowest sources, or that they're at least disappointed with their ad revenue. I know like when I did mine, I used Acast because I was doing my master's in Oxford. So it was like a British company. So I just like when you searched then, it showed up because I was in the UK. It was like, this is the best one. And it was free. So I took it. And then with the ads, I was like, I got like decent views, not anything amazing because it was just something I did for school.
Super niche,
but like, yeah, I think I got like 16 cents of ads. And I was like, I'm working directly with like, And I'm like, and I'm also working directly with publishers who are now saying that like after my first season, they were like, oh, let us like pay you to have people on your podcast. And I was like, they're going to pay me thousands of dollars and you're paying me 16 cents. Get out of here. Like, no. And so I think that side of it would be better because then you're getting in at the discussion from a unique angle. And that's something that like, because we see AI often talks about like, oh, here's an alternative. It's very much like me that way. It's like, hey, or just, you didn't ask, but here's this thing. I think that would be your USP. And then I think if your goal is the public podcast side of things, then I think that would need to be hyped a bit more. Because I do think with public podcasts, you need to figure out what the goal is for people, talking about the setup and how easy it is. And you need to think about who the ideal audience is of, do they already have a YouTube channel? So if it's YouTubers becoming podcasters, that's different. Because then that's like me, where again, I'm not like a YouTuber, but it was that conversion. So if it's about repurposing, then that's a different conversation than someone who wants to be a podcaster, because I think that those are two different people. And so when we even think about podcasters becoming quote unquote YouTubers, where they just like film their conversation, again, it's very different. And the way that they target the algorithm is very different than a YouTuber targeting the algorithm.
So that's Jake Klaus had a course. I bought it and it was actually really interesting. It was like how to podcast like a YouTuber.
I like that.
It was, and he's been testing a lot of different things. And anyways, love him. Super cool, like creator guy. But like, he talks about it all the time. And I think he now just admitted, because he's one of the podcasts that I somewhat regularly listen to, that he's now, instead of going to do weekly content, he would basically make some episodes audio and some video, like not go all in, because his video editing costs so much. And because that was what brought them the numbers. Like they do like legit, right? And so, anyways, now they're going to like 2 times a week, I think. And I think he's using his public podcast to potentially drop like random. Anyways, he's a Hello Audio user and uses us for membership site content. But I'm also like, hey, there's other things you can do. And now I'm like, that's so, because our goal too at Hello Audio, we were always like, all podcasters are like creators and that like creator umbrella, but not all creators are podcasters. And so we felt like our job was to bring audio to people that didn't like want to have a podcast. So that was like, that's like the like original like umbrella. So now, it's like, and we felt like, okay, let's offer public podcasting because we can do it, but we're not going to feature build and compete with all these other public podcasts. And so that's why, and we actually publicly say like, you could just have 2 or whatever. And so like part of why AI recommends it like that is they're like, oh, like Hello Audio even says. So do we step into a different era where we are like you have a public podcast and it's a public podcast thing and there's private podcasting, and it's always been, podcasters find us. And some of them just pay for 2 subscriptions. As a result. So it's muddy there for us. And like, I guess to one of your questions was like, what our goal is with it. I don't know. I don't know if our goal is to be in those conversations. I'm just recognizing that AI sees that conversation and thinks we should be there. You know what I mean? And that's always been our thing, is like, we took something that already had a pre-existing use case, a public podcast, and we're like, oh, don't show everyone it. And so it's like weird because we've had to over the last 5 years, like literally teach people about this like use and like how you could use it. And I think we've done a good job, but then like, I don't know. I'm more like less, how do we get in the public conversation, and more in the like, how do we truly own the private podcast conversation?
And I think talking about it,
it was like also what I'm thinking about how I asked the question. We're like, it makes sense why you ended up there. But I don't know. That's like what's going on in my head. Nora, I don't know if you have other thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Nina.
I was just going to say, based on what you said there, I would say that your USP is actually, again, the private podcast, but it's the fact that you can have both in one space. And so it's the fact that you're not having to split your time between Patreon and Acast, Podbean,
that's how
whatever.
We get that, like, creator.
And so then from that, I would say that the conversation is still monetizing your podcast. So it's about how to monetize, Patreon alternatives, how to like make money podcasting. Like those would be the topics. But when you're talking about them, noting the public podcast bit. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask is, you said that it was like an AI bot that you've built that checks this.
False. I'm using Manus and I have it do a weekly search. And so it like auto is running on the back. A little extra context. And then we have a subscription to something called Brand Signal. I don't love it. I know there's now tools that are running prompts and like feedback to you. So we have paid for it for a little while to get like a sense of like how we were being cited and grabbing some of the, what is AI citing as like they, as they come up with this sentence and like, and so yes.
I would say instead get the free SEMrush account because
we have one. We have a paid one.
It'll just tell you that. It will tell you the terms that you're showing up for most often across AI search. Because I also worry with a tool built to like run something like that, and especially that knows your business, sometimes they just like tell you stuff. And so like, that's what
true.
So that's what I was worried about when you were saying it. I'm like, if this was like, let's say like a GPT inside of Chat GPT, like it'll just say random shit.
That is not the purpose of why I use it. The purpose actually was to catch things like threads or like people on YouTube talking about Hello Audio. So like the intent of and maybe it could use an update, but like how I take that information is from that perspective. Like that's why I'm running that one. But some of the other things. So we do have a Semrush account, and like I'm not doing that anymore. It was also like very early in the like AEO. It was more like a year ago, a year and a half ago, where I was just like going like, oh, they keep citing this like one post from Buzzsprout as the whatever. So us taking stock of that and like either potentially creating some sort of outreach campaign to them to be like, hey, it's a private podcast thing, like we should be on here, because some of them are older, right? Like older listicles or something like that. So that's
so I would say that like from an SEO perspective, then my thing is always be clear on like who you're talking to, what your goal is, what their goal is. And then from there I would plan your stuff. Cause like even with She Knows SEO, like I help people that have a content first business. So they can be business owners, they can be bloggers, they can be whatever. But it's like, you have to be willing to create content. If you're not, I'm not here to optimize like just a homepage. Because like I find that boring. I just don't enjoy it. I also don't do a ton of done for you services. I know many people. I'm also very like community over competition. So I'll recommend other people. I'm very secure in my like understanding of my business. And I'm very lucky that like I was like using one of those calculators like, when can you retire? And it was like, girl, you're good. And I was like, oh, okay.
Thanks.
So I was like, cool. So for me, like, and I just don't take enjoyment from money. Like, it's just not a thing that I'm very fortunate to be able to say that. I fully admit that, but like, I don't care about it. It does not make me happy in any way. So I'm like, I'll like send you elsewhere, like go pay someone else, whatever. But because I know that like I'm doing SEO for bloggers, I'm not gonna talk about optimizing like solely your homepage.
Totally.
Because especially for a business, or I'm not gonna talk about like optimizing like, I don't know, just like your sales page. Like it's gonna have to be in the context of bloggers. So for like what campaign you might want to run or how you're gonna set it up, I would always start with your content first, because first of all, other people can cite that. So other people can like cite you. And you guys have a really unique position where you have data. So running case studies, running like any sort of, I don't love it when people call them like a full-on like research study, because I'm like, it's not a scientific study. And most of the time it's like not enough people and enough diversity to hit that. But I get that that's the term people use. Again, we're matching the term our audience use. So having like podcast statistics, 2026 or whatever, a post on that where it's, you can then pull data that you have and share it. People will reshare it. People will quote it. People will automatically tag you for things, but it's the type of content you share. So for me, I always run every year. I do just some like questions to my audience as polls. They answer it when they feel like. Middle of the year, I amalgamated into a post about like the state of blogging, kind of averages of stuff, where I'm like, okay, how long does it take the average blogger to write a post? Where are we putting images this year? How like much are people against my version of where images should go? Because I still use the old newspaper method of above the headline. Everyone else does not. So I'm like, fine, we'll fight, whatever. But stuff like that, where I'm like, the things that I'm pulling as the statistics are not, even for SEO, I'm not focusing on stats for e-com. I'm not focusing on stats for other things. So it's about knowing who your audience is to know the ways that we're going to target things and talk about them. Having that people can mention you and then cite you specifically around the topics you want them to cite immediately helps you. Then you can go public facing things and talk about it. And also then like those, the stats for accessibility, not my stats, very much like public stats. I only know them because I wrote a blog post that like I created this like interactive web accessibility checker, not a download, just like on my site. It was one of my first coding things. And I'm like, yeah, go use it. But at the intro, I was like, let's pull some stats. Let's just see. And so now they're in my head. So you're naturally going to mention them. But then, go on a couple podcasts, have your own podcast, go get mentioned in other things, for sure, helps. But I also think like, it's not about being everywhere for everyone. No one is for everyone. Any content is like, there's something for everyone. I'm like, not for me now. I'm done. And same with platforms, same with like offers, where I turn 70% of the people away who try to buy one of my offers. And I will refund people if I think it's not a good fit. I'm like, it's not for you, because the type of SEO or the type of AI that I do is not right for what your goal is. I don't want audience members who are going to be disappointed or upset. And I also don't want to have to adjust myself for people. And so with your goals, it's like, do you need to be in that conversation of free
totally.
stuff if that's not your focus.
Yeah.
And so if the focus is, even if we're thinking about like how experienced people are with a podcast, is it's like, okay, are these complete beginners? Is it someone who has some content? Is it someone who like is making millions and we're going to move them over? Because the way that you're going to create the content for them is different. So it's back to that idea that I said before about like the conversation we're having. I am not the best teacher for a true SEO beginner, partially because my brain runs away with me and I will overwhelm them. So like if someone comes to me and they're like,
easy to be overwhelmed too.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, and also with things like, like, okay, how do I do this with WordPress or that? I'm like, I'm not a tech SEO, not what I care about. I know tons about schema. I do. And I do a lot of like, I do a lot of consulting for other SEOs where I teach other SEOs and agencies better SEO practices, which is like, it just became a thing by accident because people kept asking and I was like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. Again, just like people want to pay you to do things and they will find you for it in a non-terrifying stalker you way. But with this as well, I would say like focus on that. And then when you know who you're focusing on, then you're going to find ways to attract those people. So even like I go on podcasts because I like it, because I like to talk. I like to have these conversations. Again, my therapist has banned me from talking about so many things. So she's like, hey, Nina, trauma. And I'm like, but like, let's talk about ChatGPT, like indexing this article in 12 hours. And she's like, no, let's like actually do what you're here for. And I'm like, well, maybe it was traumatic. She's like, it clearly wasn't. So I do this because I like it. So I'm intentional with a couple of the podcasts I go on. Most of them, as you can see here, I just talk about what I like to talk about. And like, for sure, it's still obviously in my zone of genius. And like my business is my zone of genius. Like that's the thing. But like I go on Service Dog podcasts. I've gone on tons about accessibility and like running an accessible business. I don't teach that. Like I am not going to teach you how to like handle your chronic illness because like I can't handle mine. Like my disabilities are disabling and I don't know how to handle it. So I'm like, we're going to do what we're going to do. So when you're thinking about then the content you're creating, the outreach you're going to do, yes, you want to look at like where these citations are coming from, but don't just look at, okay, it's citing that Buzzsprout article. Look at why it's citing that Buzzsprout article. Because do you need to be in it? Or can we, and I love reverse engineering stuff. Again, I love analytics. I love getting into like, why is this happening? What's happening? I am incredibly autistic. So like, I'm like, let's figure out what works. And for me, I'm like, okay, if I look at that, what is their topical authority? So like, how much are they talking about this thing? How much are other people talking about them? Like, are they number one, not because their content is great, but because other people have talked about them? Is it because a certain podcast they were on does the best? SimilarWeb's a really good one for this. If you go, SimilarWeb has free plans. Pop it in like the URL and then look at the referral sources and the individual ones. I like it because it does a better job, I find, of brand mentions. It's not perfect, but it does a fair job at it. And you can also then use something like Manus or ChatGPT or whatever to go look for other ones. Zapier actually has, in one of their AI agents, there's one that will pull brand mentions. I was like, I love to just scroll through automations for no reason. And I was scrolling through earlier today and in their pre-built ones, it was one of them.
I've totally done that. Like, I'm like, what could give me an idea? Right? It's the dopamine hit of like,
and
I could do this.
Exactly. And I'm like, hey, like, I don't know what's out there. So like, what could be
exactly
automated? And like having this where it was like, we'll auto pull all your brand mentions and like talk about that for you, which is what your thing made me think of. And I'm like, and it's in a form, and it's nice, it's helpful.
Interesting.
But you can also then do it for not you, which is kind of cool. And putting it into SEMrush, things like that, where you're starting to figure out like, okay, but why was this cited? It doesn't matter that it was, it's like, or that it currently is. It's like, it could be dethroned. So how could we dethrone it if we want to? And then yes, outreach to be included in them. I don't love doing that, I'll be honest, partially because I think that I get a lot of spam about that. So I think I have like a preconceived notion of just like, people will just get rid of it and it's spam. And I don't know that that's true, but it could be. But I also think like, I would rather new people talk about it. And I'd rather that like it not be, because I find with AI search, what we're getting is hyper specific searches, right? So it's like I said before with the gluten-free stuff, I could just say, what are the best restaurants in Nashville? It's going to look for something that's pet friendly. It knows my dog is coming with me. And even though he's a service dog, I love to take him out of vest. He can't work that many hours. Service dogs get burnout. I don't think people realize that. And if they can, so can you. Take a break. Then there's, it'll know that I'm celiac. It's going to look for that. It's going to know that like, hey, Nina hates, I don't know, olives, let's say. So not somewhere where the entire menu is olives, I guess. I don't know. It
Olive
knows
Garden
that like,
off.
yeah,
No.
exactly.
Right,
And it's also gonna, and it's also gonna know like, hey, Nina's hotel that she's already talked about before is here. So let's look around that. So what it's called, basically it's called query fan out is what they have talked about it. Essentially, it's just that you have an AI assistant now that's doing all the searches and then paring it down for you. So it doesn't need to be called something fancy. It's literally just you are Miranda Priestley and you have like Anne Hathaway, whose character name I don't remember, going out and doing the research and then giving you that like custom list. And so the way that we as business owners can win in that space isn't by being the generic, here's like the free plans thing. It's that we actually want to target, like I said, those zero volume keywords, the like hyper specific things where it's not about best restaurants in Nashville. Now it's about best dog friendly restaurants in Nashville, best dog friendly restaurants in this part of Nashville. It's then in your content talking about those things and even going deeper into like, hey, this one's celiac friendly, this one's not, whatever. Having those details, that's going to help you way more. So when I'm thinking about like you doing a campaign, often the most popular ones, I'm finding the conversions are low right now. It'll cite it, but people aren't going to check the article. And with AI, just because it's the generic answer doesn't mean it's the one your ideal audience is getting. An easy way to like, I don't know if people know that this is an easy way, but you can get a free ChatGPT account and then just like train it to pretend to be your ideal audience. Like you can just like ask a number of questions and give it background as though you are that person and then do searches and then see what happens. And I don't think people, again, reverse engineer things enough or role play enough. I was a theater major. Well, not major, I guess. It was just, I went to a drama high school. So like very comfortable in acting, I guess. I was really good at mime and that was about it. So it's not helpful in life. But it's
a skill.
It is. I can be inside of a box so well. I can walk down so many invisible stairs. But yeah, I find like if you're not sure and you don't understand, be that person. Like go act as that person. And then see what sources that like they care about. But also I would say people trust users more than they trust a generic list. So the actual campaigns that I would run are things like asking your audience who are already using it, why do you use our free ones? What do you like about it? Having case studies about it, pulling like just like quotes from your actual audience in it. Do your own like audio summit about the public podcasts, because then everyone's going to share it. Which I think also summits are such a great way to get everyone to tag you on socials. And if you have one or two people that are good at socials, it's great. It works so well. But also a plethora of tags work very well. So like you can have like a mini thing like that where the content creation onus is not on you. It's almost UGC content essentially. And then they promote it because they're an affiliate for it. And you're good to go essentially. But I think that like having actual users talk about thing is always better than having like generic press. She knows SEO gets recommended for so much stuff because people post about it, not because I'm in Business Insider and in this. And the ways that I've gotten into stuff like SEMrush and Ahrefs is like Ahrefs, they found me on Twitter back when I was there and asked me for a quote for something. With SEMrush, I did this like case study of a travel blog that was still doing well post the like 2023 big helpful content update. And then they did like, they were talking about the helpful content update and pulled it in there. And it's like, I did absolutely nothing. Like I don't pay for press. I don't need to. I did it once as a case study. Haven't done it since because I'm like, well, it was like 6K and it was fine. But like I could just exist and it'll be fine too. And yeah, so for you guys to like jumpstart it a little bit, having your own campaign, quote unquote, of people talking about you or you pulling stats, I think would be key. But pull the ones that are relevant to the thing that you're trying to do. Always have a goal with stuff. And yeah, I also just don't think that you need every single person who wants a free podcast necessarily. I think you want the people that want to have the podcast with the paywall aspect of it,
100%.
With the course aspect. And so maybe having like, something around how to monetize a podcast generically, but then you also have like ways of how to repurpose your YouTube channel to this and then replace Patreon, or how to like, how to not have like alternatives to Patreon, not having to pay like what is it, like 40% or something now if it's in certain apps. It's ridiculous. And so it's
I hear about it less and less, to be fair. Like I don't see a lot of Patreon people.
People are moving fully off of it.
Yeah.
I think it's also why YouTube started their YouTube courses thing, which
100%.
is not fully kicked off yet. Like people don't know about it, users or the creators. And so having something where it's like, hey, and it integrates to these things that you have. The fact that you guys have like the system with Google Drive and with Dropbox and stuff where you can just auto adjust things.
Yeah, we should do blog posts on like how to like automations. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Like,
and so having that like the addition of it, I think for creators and the analytics part of it, where it's like your analytics are all in one spot.
Yep.
And to me, that's a huge thing is to be able to like compare analytics in one place, and they're all formatted the same way. So if you export them to compare elsewhere, you don't have to reformat everything. And so, based on like our discussion, I just don't know that getting on that list matters. And I think like, yes, it's nice to be in the same conversation, but like they're throwing all their money after it because they can't be in the conversations that you're in about paid podcasts. And so I think like, why be in that room when you can be in the room that's going to convert better for you?
Yeah. And we're like creating that room is like how I'm seeing it too. Like we always have been doing that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So fun. I love it.
This was great. And I'm sorry that I went crazy on so many topics in coaching, but I hope it was enjoyable.
I forced you to stay an extra hour or whatever. Derek's texting me and he's like, because I was childcare issues this morning. And so I was supposed to go pick him up and he just was like, I'm going to go to the co-work space down the street. And I was like, oh, I didn't even like it. I was like, no joke. We turned this into 2 episodes and we've never done it. So anyways, thank you so much for sharing not only your expertise and like, I don't know, playing along with me, but also just your creativity and your like love for your business and like showed up as you. And I love it. And like, please keep us just notified of any other cool things you're doing. And like, we may be reaching out for some other fun things in the future. And like, we'd love to have you on the show as a repeat thing if you do something else cool, which usually people like you are always doing cool shit. So, there's probably going to be a part 3.
I would love it.
When you launch one of those ideas of yours. So thank you, Nina, so much. This was a super fun hangout. And we'll see you around the interwebs.
Yes,
in your ears and all the things, all the places.